video, I'm going to show you exactly the one thing, the one process that we implemented to pretty much double our closing rate. And I'm going to show you exactly how you can implement it yourself in your business so you can improve your show up rate and also your closing rate exponentially. And I'm not talking about the magic question that you want to ask to close all of your prospects. I'm not talking about the magic sales script that you want to use or anything like that. What I'm going to show you actually, it's much more simple to implement, is going to have much more leverage on your business, and it's not as complicated as improving the sales process. And obviously it actually works because it's a system that you literally have to implement, and it just works in the back end, and it's going to allow you to close way more deals that you're doing right now. So if you don't know me, my name is Gearbol. I'm the founder of Zeta Media. We are a growth partner for coaches, course creators, consultants, and so on. And we pretty much use the system for over 100 different businesses, and that resulted in them improving drastically their show rate and their closing rate. So the point is that this thing actually works, and it works extremely well, and it's just something automated that it can implement. So with that being said, let's just get into it. First thing that I want to do is I want to break down the main processes that go into like a high ticket business. Now, obviously, there's like a lot more processes than this, but if we were to break down the client acquisition process, and if we were to look at it from a macro perspective, we would have mainly three sections, right? So number one is going to be marketing. In here, we're going to have ad creatives, ad copy, audiences, funnel, VSL/webinar, and so on. Okay, so we have the marketing piece right here, which is marketing itself is a variable, right? As we have with like the pre-call process, sales, and so on. But within these, system, this whole thing, we have multiple sub variables, if that makes sense, right? So marketing is going to include these sub variables right here. Then we have the pre-call process, right? So for the pre-call process, the sub variables are going to be the thank you page, the upgrading process, the confirmation SMS, the confirmation email, nurturing sequence, and so on. Obviously, these are not all of them. And then when it comes to the sales variable, we are going to have multiple sub variables such as sales scripts, skills, sales reps, talent, sales management, and so on. And so when you take a look at this, obviously the input, are going to be the leads and the people who are going to actually see your marketing, and the output of the system is going to be actual clients. Okay, clients that you're going to be working with. So if you want to improve your closing rate, obviously you just have to play around with these variables, right? Either two of them or three of them, or tackle one variable at a time. That's the only thing that you have to do, right? Just play around with the variables and try to improve the variables to be able to close more. So if we were to look at the variables, most people would take a look at the sales, right? When we're talking about closing rate. However, sales is the most complicated lever that it can pull to improve closing rate. Now, of course, I'm not saying you can definitely become like a better closer. You can definitely improve your sales process, your sales skills, and all that kind of stuff. But if we were to look at like a bigger team, and if you're running paid ads, sales, maybe you do have like a good sales process, but that is not going to be the biggest and the most systemized way of improving your closing rate, because sales obviously involves a lot of people, right? So a lot of sales reps, you're going to have to do a lot of sales training, you're going to have to do a lot of management, which is, it's actually pretty difficult because you're working with people. Your sales reps can churn, they can go to other offers, you have to train them, you have to put in a lot of time, and the outcome, the leverage, is not exponential or is not direct. It's not like, hey, you change one thing and then you double your sales. It doesn't work that way in sales. So that means that we're going to have to take a look at the other two variables, right, which are going to be the pre-call process and marketing. Now, usually in marketing, there's not like one thing that it can do that's going to pretty much double your closing rate, right? Of course, there are plenty of levers and plenty of variables that it can work on here, but there's not like one thing that if you implement it would just pretty much turn your whole business around. However, when it comes to the pre-call process, and obviously this kind of ties down it back into the marketing, there is actually one system that you can implement. So what that means is basically, if we were to look at this whole system, if we want to improve the closing rate, the smartest, the easiest, the simplest way to do that would be to play around with the pre-call process variable, right? And all the variables that are included in this whole system. So That being said, let's first of all talk about marketing, because this is also something that is going to affect sales and therefore closing rate. And obviously, every single component before sales is going to actually affect the closing rate. So it's not like you change one thing into sales and you're going to improve your closing rate. Everything is interconnected, right? So let's talk about marketing. Here are the variables, right? The pre-call variables that you can play around with. So first of all, it's all about the messaging when it comes to marketing if you want to improve your closing rate. Okay, so here are the three requirements that you can play around with when it comes to your marketing. So number one, call out. Okay, you want to specifically call out your ideal client, and ideally your total addressable market should be between 30,000 and 100,000 in the US. Okay, meaning how many people are there in your niche. So you don't want to be too broad, you don't want to be too specific, right? Just between 30 and 100,000. Now, most people do call out their ideal market, but they call them out like entrepreneurs or like service-based businesses, right? And that doesn't really strike a chord with them, doesn't really resonate with them, because this is not the way they call themselves. This is very important. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to call them the way they call themselves. So here's a very good example, right? Not info product business owners, or not like e-learning companies, because what the heck is that? Like, you don't even know what that means. You're not calling yourself like an info product business owner, right? Some people do, but most of them don't. So instead, what you want to do is you want to call yourself, or you want to call out your audience like online coaches and consultants, right? For this specific example. So point is, just call them out in the same way they call themselves. That's it, right? And even better would be to financially qualify them in saying something like, "Hey, online coaches and consultants doing X per month, right? Or getting X sales per month," and something like that to further qualify them. Point is, you want to talk to your top of the pyramid, your most ideal top 10% of your clients, pretty much. That's what you want to do here. The second lever when it comes to messaging and marketing is results are going to be bigger than the call out. So, of course, you're going to call them out, but essentially with results, you want to show them the results that your ideal clients want to see. And essentially, you want to show them that you've helped others like them to get the result that they want. That's the absolute best way that you can do this. So, for example, if you run an ad and you're calling out, "Hey, coaches above 30K a month," but all of your results are showing you helping coaches get from 10K a month to like 20K a month, or like from 15 to 30, or even zero from 30, obviously that's not going to resonate with them, because they are already at 30. They want to get to 100, right? They want to get to 200, whatever. Point is, results, and you actually have to show the results, not only call them out, right? The results are going to automatically attract your best clients, the clients that are going to close, the most with your exact offer. And then the third one is going to be reinforced funnel messaging. This is pretty important, especially when you're going to scale, because from the first words from inside your ad creative and all the way through the application process, you want to disqualify the unqualified people. That's pretty much what you want to do. So basically, you want to have disclaimers and direct messaging in your ads, opt-in, VSL page, booking page, application questions, and so on, right? So if you're not X, then please leave this page immediately. If you're not X, then you know just close this tab immediately, or something like that. You want to essentially disqualify the unqualified people. So if you're doing all these three things in marketing at the same time, you're automatically going to attract your ideal clients that are the best fit for your offer, and therefore you are going to close more deals. Okay, that's what you want to do. But this is about marketing, right? This is like the marketing component. Let's actually talk about the biggest lever that you can pull when it comes to the pre-call process. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Pretty much the biggest lever that you can pull to increase show up rate and closing rate is the application approval process and the application process itself. So what does that mean, right? Someone is going to watch like your webinar or like your VSL, and then what's going to happen? They are going to complete a form before booking a call with you, right? And then based on that form, you ask them like a few questions, and you see, where they are at right now and whether or not you can help them. So what that means is basically that you need to, number one, have a proper application process, okay, the form that you're going to use, the questions that you're going to use, and so on. And secondly, you need to follow an application grading process, and I'm going to explain exactly what it is right now. So let's actually, start with the application rating process. But basically, these are the two things that we want to play around with in order to increase the quality and the show up and the closing rate. So let's take a look at the app rating process. So basically, what you want to do in a nutshell is you want to ask in your questionnaire, in your form, you want to ask three or more qualifying multi-choice questions. Okay, then you want to assign a score from 1 to 4 to every single answer that you're going to get. And then you want to assign a score from 1 to 4 to every single lead that you are going to get. 1 basically means unqualified and you want to cancel, and 4 is the highest quality that it can get. What you want to do is you only want to allow 4s and 3s to book a call, and you want to move to an appointment setter and obviously cancel the ones, the unqualified ones. Okay, so let's talk about the application grading process. So here in this section, we have the questions, the multi-choice qualifying questions that you want to ask in your questionnaire in order to be able to actually qualify people. Okay, this is actually pretty important. So, for example, qualifying question number 1 is going to be current revenue. Basically, you're asking them where they are at in their business, their life, and so on. And so we give them 4 choices, right? In this example, it's either going to be below 10K a month. Worst case scenario, best case scenario is $100,000 per month plus. So as you can see, 1 is the worst, 4 is the best. This is one qualifying question. The other one can be about like how many consultations are you getting every single week, right? How many appointments are you getting? So 1 is unqualified, right? They're going to be getting actually less than 5 a week, right? And medium 2 is going to be 5 to 10, and the best is going to be 20 plus a week. Okay, this is like basically how this works. Now we also want to ask a question about a challenge and need, right? And again, here you want to put this around your offer, and you want to take a look at your ideal client, and you want to see exactly, okay, what kind of people do I want to work with? Who are my ideal clients? And the kind of clients that are just going to close, right? And you want to take a score from 1 to 4 and assign for every single answer a score, essentially, and you want to put them in order just like this. And then the next thing is going to be their ability to invest. Okay, their ability to invest. So here is actually pretty simple. You have multiple choices here. You can either have like a no or a yes, or like a no and even maybe an a yes. Okay, this is not a multi-choice qualifying question. Another one can be the answer in quality to detail. This is not a qualifying question, but this is like a way to take a look at the application process and see, okay, did the lead, give us like one word answers, then we want to cancel the call, obviously, right? If it was vague and unclear, if it misses details, just based on like the quality of the answers, you would again assign a score from 1 to 4. This is super important. And then the last thing that you want to do essentially is offer slash vertical. Are they in your actual niche, right? Because if they're not in your niche, and for example, if you're working with gyms and you're going to get a dentist, obviously that is not in your niche and that is unqualified. You cannot help them. So obviously you're going to assign them a 1 here, and also you want to automatically unqualify them, basically disqualify them and cancel because they're not in your niche. Okay, offer is also pretty important. So this is the collection of qualifying questions, and based on this, based on every single answer, we're going to assign a score from 1 to 4, and then based on all the questions combined, we are going to assign a score for the lead. And this can be changeable here, obviously, depending on the um, questions, answers that we get. Here is the score of the lead. Okay, so here's the kicker, right? Here's the thing: you want to disqualify everyone who says no, they're not willing to invest. Okay, so we take a look at this question: are you able or like willing to invest? Blah blah blah. This kind of question. And if they said no, you automatically disqualify and cancel them. Okay. Now, if they say yes, obviously you're going to allow them in. And also, automatic disqualification would mean a vertical outside of your actual niche. So, example, if you're working with gyms, you get a dentist, you automatically disqualify and cancel. So you can set your own criteria for automatically disqualifying people based on like the kind of people that you want to work with, your offer, and so on. But just as an example, if it's outside the niche, disqualify. If it's not willing to invest, automatically disqualify. You don't have to do this manually. You can do this through JotForm or whatever you're using to basically have a form, but this is done automatically. Okay, this is the deal. Now, based on the score, obviously you're going to take different actions. Okay, so this is super important. 1 is unqualified, you cancel all the ones automatically cancel. Okay, so that's the deal. Twos are okay, and we are going to move this to a setter. We're not going to let that necessarily sit on a calendar. We want to ASAP have a setter, call the lead, qualify, see if it's a good fit, and see if we want to keep that on the calendar or if you want to remove it. The three is a good, and we're just going to not do anything about it. We're just going to approve it and let it sit on the calendar. And four is the best. Okay, we want to let it sit on the calendar, approval, don't do anything about it. Obviously, we want to get as many fours and threes as much as possible, pretty much. Okay. So you want to implement this whole system, this whole grading system in your business to be able to track the quality of your clients. And I'm going to explain in just a minute how that's going to affect your closing rate. Okay. Because this is pretty important. So, point is, we covered exactly what you want to do in the application grading process. Qualifying questions can be about, their current occupation, career, their current income, their willingness to invest, the primary issue that they want to solve. Because if that's, for example, if they have a problem that it cannot help them with, obviously you do not want to let them be on a calendar because it cannot help them. So it's pretty important to establish your benchmarks and what are the deal breaker questions for you, because based on that you're going to qualify people and you're going to let them to either book a call or not. So once you have this whole thing, once you have like a proper application process that includes questions like this, which are super important, and you don't want to go too crazy, you just want to have like four or three multi-choice, or you can do even more than that, but essentially you want to have multi-choice questions where you can clearly see if they're qualified or not. So once you have that, that means basically that you have a proper application process, and you also have an application grading process where you pretty much score every single lead. Super duper important. Now, what you want to do is you want to optimize around qualified calls. What that means is that, again, pretty much ones and twos are going to be rerouted to a different page without a pixel. So that means that the pixel only fires if the lead has passed the application process and is actually qualified. So either a 3 or a 4. Okay, either a 3 or a 4. So what that means is basically the pixel is only going to get qualified leads and is only going to optimize for qualified leads. You do not feed the bad data back to the pixel. And this is super important because ultimately, if the pixel is only going to get qualified bookings and you only feed qualified bookings into it, is going to be a snowball effect where the only applications that you're going to get are going to be qualified, and you're only going to be talking to qualified people who have a much higher chance of actually closing, and they're qualified for your offer. And ultimately, what you want to do is you want to optimize around the booked call event, because you can definitely optimize for leads, opt-ins into your funnel and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, the biggest thing that you can do is just to optimize around booked calls, because by optimizing around booked calls, you automatically optimize around qualified leads, and that's like the whole point of this. So super duper important. Obviously, if you just only are talking to qualified people, you're pretty much going to be able to double your closing rate. And we have implemented this, and it really does work this way. It's automated. You don't have to work on sales process or anything like that. It's just purely numbers, purely automated, and is going to massively help you increase your closing rate. Now, the last thing that you want to take care of is the calendar efficiency. That means that your calendar, yes, you want to have it filled, but you want to have it filled with qualified bookings, right? And essentially, if you're going to allow the twos to book the call, and it's not going to fire the pixel, but you're going to allow them to book a call, then essentially what you want to do is you want to call them ASAP and make sure that they are actually qualified. And you want to double book the spot with a qualified lead, and you're also going to have with a unqualified lead, or like a two, you want to basically qualify the lead and call the person ASAP, see if it's qualified, and if it's not going to be qualified, then obviously you want to cancel the call, but you didn't lose the spot, right? So that kind of goes into calendar efficiency. For this, you would need a calendar manager, but super important. This is the main thing. You want to keep your calendar clean and fully packed with qualified leads only. That's the whole thing. So, guys, that's it. If you just implemented this whole thing where you pretty much, filtered every single lead that comes into your business, you also have the marketing improved. It's impossible to not improve your closing rate, and you don't even have to touch the sales. You don't need to do anything. You just have to let the sales do your thing. You don't touch them, and that's it. Right? That's all you have to do. It's just to play around with the pre-call process and then maybe tweak the marketing a little bit. And this is ultimately going to allow you to pretty much double your closing rate. Right? It's way simpler than just worrying about sales, training, all doing all that kind of stuff. So, guys, before I go, just like a little shameless plug. If you're a coach, consultant, or like a course creator and you want to scale your business to 6 and even 7 figures in monthly revenue, then in the description down below, I have my link to my VSL funnel. If you're interested to see like how our offer works, and I do think we have a pretty cool offer, which is also pay for a performance model. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description down below. Just check it, see if it's something that you're looking for, see if it's something interested. I don't really care if you click it or not, but I just wanted to let you know that it's there in the description in case you want to check it out. And with that being said, I'm Gabriel. I'm signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.